In the history of aviation, there are moments of terror that remain frozen in time, but none more catastrophic than what unfolded on a fog-shrouded runway in Tenerife. Two colossal jets, unaware of each other's position, moving toward each other at full speed. In seconds, over 500 lives would be claimed in a fiery explosion. This is the story of the deadliest aviation accident of all time, the Tenerife Airport Disaster. Hello everyone, and welcome to Infinite Altitudes. Today we bring you the airline disaster that, even after almost 50 years, stands in infamy as the single accident that claimed the most lives. It was March 27, 1977, a busy day in the Canary Islands. But chaos was building in the skies, triggered by events far beyond anyone's control. A terrorist bomb exploded at Gran Canaria Airport, the primary airport for flights in the region. In response, air traffic controllers began diverting incoming planes to Los Rodeos Airport in Tenerife, a small, ill-equipped airfield never designed to handle this sudden, overwhelming traffic. Among these were KLM 4805 and Pan Am 1736. KLM Flight 4805 was a charter flight for Holland International Travel Group from Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, Netherlands. Pan Am Flight 1736 had originated at Los Angeles International Airport, with a halt at New York's JFK. The Boeing 747, named Clipper Victor, was the first 747 to be delivered to an airline. Los Rodeos was not only overwhelmed by planes it wasn't accustomed to, but weather conditions were quickly deteriorating. The mountains surrounding the airport began trapping dense fog. Visibility on the runway dropped from clear skies to near zero within minutes. Amid this chaos, two jumbo jets, KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736, were now waiting on the same runway. Both crews, passengers, and air traffic controllers grew increasingly frustrated as the hours ticked by. But the situation was about to go from bad to worse. After some hours, the situation at Gran Canaria was finally deemed safe. The planes at Los Rodeos were given clearance to depart. KLM 4805, piloted by the experienced Captain Jacob Veldhuisen van Zanten, was cleared to taxi to the start of the runway to take off, followed by Pan Am 1736. The only problem? Los Rodeos had a single runway, with planes having to backtrack up and down it to depart. With the fog worsening, the KLM plane made its way to the start of the runway. The Pan Am 747 was still taxiing behind it, but was instructed to take an exit to clear the runway for KLM's departure. But the poor visibility made finding the correct exit nearly impossible for the Pan Am crew, who were unfamiliar with the runway layout. They missed their designated exit and were still on the runway, unaware that the KLM plane was about to take off directly toward them. In the KLM cockpit, Captain Van Zanten, frustrated by the delays, decided to proceed with the takeoff without final clearance. His first officer expressed concern, clearly stating, "We don't have takeoff clearance," but the captain ignored him. Van Zanten believed he had heard the controller say they were cleared for takeoff, though the message had been anything but clear. The fog was now so thick that neither plane could see the other. Air traffic control, too, was blind to the growing catastrophe. A critical heterodyne, radio interference, blocked a vital message from the Pan Am crew, who warned, "We're still on the runway." The controller's response, "Okay," came through garbled. The KLM crew, unable to hear the full exchange due to the heterodyne, misunderstood the situation. Captain Van Zanten, convinced that the runway was clear, pushed the throttles forward and began accelerating down the fog-covered runway. At the same time, the Pan Am crew, still searching for an exit, was right in its path. In seconds, the two planes, each carrying hundreds of passengers, were hurtling toward each other in the dense fog. Pan Am's Captain Grubbs saw the lights of the KLM jet barreling down on them at the last possible moment. "There he is! Look at him! Goddamn, that son of a bee is coming!" he shouted. He desperately tried to turn the Pan Am jet off the runway, but it was too late. Captain Van Zanten, realizing the imminent collision, pulled up violently on the controls, attempting a last-second forced takeoff. The KLM 747 briefly lifted off the ground, but its undercarriage tore through the top of the fuselage of the Pan Am. Fire and debris erupted instantly. The KLM jet slammed back into the ground, bursting into flames, while the Pan Am plane was torn apart by the impact. The runway turned into a hellscape. The impact sparked a massive fireball, instantly killing everyone aboard the KLM plane. On the Pan Am flight, some miraculously survived the initial impact, but were trapped in a burning fuselage. Passengers scrambled to escape through the wreckage, but flames quickly engulfed the aircraft. Rescue workers arrived, but the chaos, thick fog, and wreckage hampered their efforts. Out of 396 people aboard the Pan Am flight, 61 survived. Everyone on the KLM flight, 248 souls, was killed. In total, 583 people lost their lives in an instant, making it the deadliest aviation accident history. The Tenerife Airport disaster is a haunting reminder of how small miscommunications, frustration, and deteriorating weather conditions can culminate in unimaginable tragedy. We remember the 583 people who lost their lives that day, passengers and crew whose lives were cut short in the most devastating way. Their memory is forever etched into the pages of aviation history. May they all rest in peace. If you found this video informative, please consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into everything about aviation. See you in the next video.